So the insightful sessions we had yesterday kind of opened our eyes to where publishing is headed. And now in the upcoming session, Literature's Tech Game Plan, what we have is a panel discussion where we'll be meeting some of the players who are tinkering with technology and creating the future of not just publishing, but also reading, authors, books, the whole ecosystem. And they are developing innovative platforms for not only literature building, but also exchange, including regional literature, and reimagining and reinventing, libraries as well. So do we already have, I can't see him. Do we already have Kashyap here?
Kashyap is not there. I get on see Kashyap.
Okay.
So Kashyap is here. He's just asking to be made.
The conversation is going to be Kashyap Kompella. Kashyap, it's great to have you here. I hope you can hear me. He's the CEO of industry analyst firm RPA2 AI Research. In his day job, Kashyap advises business leaders on artificial intelligence and automation, and has spoken at several conferences, including the Frankfurt Book Fair and TEDx. But he tells us that his heart is really in books and literature, which is why we have him here for BBLF. He is also the author of the bestseller Practical Artificial Intelligence, and he writes Future Tense, which is a column for Business Line on campus, and AI Ethicist. Wow, that's a very interesting term, which is another column for Information Today. And as a publisher, he tells us that he has actually published a book for his very young little daughter, 10 years old, Kavya, Spanglore Children's Fantasy Series, which made her one of the youngest best-selling authors in India. Kashyap, this book, what do you call it, on artificial intelligence, this was your very first one, if I'm right, is it not? Okay, I don't think he's still able to hear us. But nevertheless, so it is, I think, his first book. So just wanted to congratulate him and welcome all of you. Hi. I see Vibhu.
Hi, Pooja.
An older face. Hi, Ranjit. Hi. And Suresh, you can turn on your mic as well.
Okay. That's a more diplomatic way of saying you are on mute.
We learn new things from her right now. We'll apply.
Yeah.
Interesting. So we do have Kashyap. Kashyap, your video is not yet on. Yes. Hi, Kashyap. So I'm just finished introducing you and actually congratulating you behind your back.
Oh, thank you.
You don't want to know about what is it?
No, I was able to hear you. You were asking me about the book, right?
Okay. Yeah. I didn't know you heard me. All right, great. So I'm not going to take more time. Over to you, Kashyap. Please start.
Okay. Thank you, Pooja, and sorry for that little snafu.
No.
So today's topic is literature's tech game plan. And we all know more and more of our lives is getting entwined with technology. But and literature is also not immune. But what exactly is literature's relationship with technology? Actually, it's complicated. And it also depends on who you ask. Depending on who you ask, it's either literature as a savior, technology is either literature as a savior, or is it going to destroy literature? Or are they frenemies, are they co-opetition, etc.? So to discuss some of these topics, we have a very eminent panel today. As Pooja was mentioning, all the people, all our panelists today are actually walking the talk on these very specific topics. They live and breathe this topic day in and day out. So it's going to be pretty exciting. So let me introduce my panelists today. We'll go in alphabetical order and start with Vibhu Datta Raut. So India has a very rich tradition of bankers turning authors, and Vibhu follows that line. So he's written a book called Wheels to Wishes. And when he was, he did not like the publishing experience at that time. So he went ahead and started his own publishing platform, which is Story Mirror. And Story Mirror is one of India's largest literature platforms today. And prior to this, in his earlier life, he has been in the investment banking space. So Storymirror is doing a lot of interesting things in the literature tech space. And Vibhu has coined this term literature tech, and I've heard it for the first time from him. So he's going to talk a little bit about that. So welcome, Vibhu.
Hi. Thanks, Kashyap, for nice introduction. And getting that from your mouth feels privileged and honored. And thanks for inviting me to this session.
Thank you. So next we have Ranjit Pratap Singh. So while Vibhu didn't like the publishing experience and started his platform, Ranjit was finding it difficult to find good quality Hindi content. He tried for many years and said the best way to do it is actually go and do it yourself. So Pratilipi does not need a lot of introduction. So India has a lot of linguistic diversity, and about only 10% of India is familiar with the English language, and globally only 5%, less than 5% speaks English. So through Pratilipi, Ranjit is bringing in stories in, as of now, I think 12 different Indian languages in many Indian languages. So, and they've recently raised a big fundraise of about $48 million in their Series D funding. So it's all happening.
Thank you, Kashyap.
Welcome, Ranjit.
Pleasure to be here.
So next we have Suresh Narsimha. So Suresh, I'm already a customer of Suresh's in terms of using JustBooks. So when I think of smart cities, I mean, we've seen the story of Bangalore has been a lot of infrastructure addition, but one of the best things to have happened to Bangalore and some other cities as well is this chain of libraries called JustBooks. So smart city is equal to a city which has smart libraries, according to me. So Suresh owns the JustBooks right now. And as many of you know, JustBooks is this chain of libraries across Bangalore, and they've used technology to greatly to improve the reader experience. So he's going to talk a little bit about that. So Suresh is also a consumer and technology focused VC. And as a founder, he has many laurels of launching successful ventures such as Telebrahma, Samsara, and Monkeybox. So welcome, Suresh.
Hi. Great to be here, Kashyap.
So let's get started. So our topic, I mean, we're making the assumption that literature should have a technology game plan. But for starters, let's unpack that. So why does literature, or publishing more broadly, needs to have a tech game plan? And what problems or pain points is tech helping address? So we'll start with you, Suresh, then Ranjit, and then.
Right, I think few things. There are many facets of the literature, and each section of the literature has its own requirement. For example, some vague thoughts. Let me start with some vague thoughts which are not very obvious. Why can't we have tools that can validate meters of all our poems, right? And not whether it's English or Sanskrit or Kannada, right? What are we doing for validating the meters or understanding the meters associated with the poems? Today, a lot of science and business literature requires a lot of tools for research or cross-reference. Where are those tools today? Of course, all literatures requires tools to market and monetize, and that's where most of the technology is being seen today, but still a lot of work can be done in that space. More interestingly and importantly, right, regional languages address the niche audience, right, and they depend a lot on translation to scale up, right. These are some of the areas in which technology can make a tremendous impact to literature in general. Of course, there are a lot of other things around content generation, content security, marketing, monetization, P2P connects that will become extremely critical, etc. So there are tremendous opportunities to leverage technology within this industry, okay, and both to disrupt and improve the consumer experience. I think my fundamental belief is that, right, the technology is the savior for the regional medium, right, regional languages, and congrats to Ranjit for doing some great work there, right. It's probably a best hope for it, and I think technology is also a great opportunity for us to revisit some of the classics and then help us understand those things better, right? Especially sitting in India, right? So these are my initial thoughts, Kashyap.
Awesome. I think right now we have AI that checks the syntax of code. So why not the syntax of poetry? I like that. So Ranjit.
So I think technology has kind of changed almost every sector and every industry that we can think of. It's not that literature is the only industry or only sector going through that. The same has been true for everything from healthcare to financial access to real estate to banking, whatever else you think of. And in general, I think usually these are the same three reasons across sectors and across markets. The first one is simply that technology brings in more efficiency. So think of it like this, right? Like for a physical world, if you have to publish a book, there is a fixed cost attached to it for publishing the first copy. And then for every copy, there is again a variable cost that is attached to it. Versus if you utilize technology, then generally your variable cost starts going down very quickly towards zero. So it might not be zero depending on the model, but it will very, very quickly start going down towards zero. So it's just more efficient. Similarly, for a bunch of other things, for example, translation, I think Suresh sir was talking about, it's not as in, if you're manually translating one book, it's fine. But if you're translating 10,000 books, it very quickly becomes very expensive. If on the other hand, technology can take over, let's say 99% of the job, that basically becomes a lot more efficient. Both in terms of cost and in terms of time that it requires to kind of translate. And there are other use cases as well. So that is one, technology just brings in more efficiency. Second is that because of this efficiency, technology also kind of builds in democratization, which means that a lot more people can start becoming creators as against they could in the physical books world. So in physical books, for example, one of my, probably my all-time favorite writer across all languages is a writer called, or was a writer called Suryakant Tripathi Nirala. And he struggled for many, many years before he got any recognition because, well, just distributing physical books was so much harder, which is, again, relatively speaking, it's easier into the internet world. So it just builds a platform where people can kind of come and find an audience in a relatively easier manner versus the traditional publishing environment. And this is again true across sectors, across different use cases. And the third one, I think, is that technology over a period of time, I'm not saying on day zero, it's better user experience, but over a period of time, it just builds better user experience, which kind of expands the market itself. I think these are primarily the three reasons why technology, in my opinion, is not just it's not just helpful for publishing. I would argue that it's actually almost essential. If literature has to grow, then technology has to come in, just like any other sector that you can think of.
Awesome. So technology to bring efficiencies, to increase access or democratization, and you're seeing it as a pillar or a foundation. Awesome. We will come back to some of these themes. So your opening remarks.
And I will thanks Suresh and Ranjit for the insights. And I will answer this question in the form of a story. One day, a teacher was addressing to a bunch of students, starting from grade 1 to grade 12. And one student asked, why is knowledge compared with that of question? Teacher thought for a moment and then answered, can you guys tell me how many numbers are there between 5 and 7? Few said 1, that is 6 only. And those who were knowing little bit of fraction said there might be many fractions. Those who knew about rational, irrational numbers said it is probably uncountable. And those who knew about complex number calculus said it is infinite. Teacher said, all of you are right. The more you know how less you know. That is how. That is why knowledge is compared with the question. Once something which appears to be reality is far off when viewed through the lenses of relative reality. The same analogy can be used when we talk about literature tech. Earlier it was stones through which we are expressing. Then came the palm leaves, followed by printing press, papers, then digital. The cost of production and distribution, rightly said by Ranjit, has reduced immensely with the passage of time. And literature has infinite possibilities to uplift a society. And probably they can bridge the gap between those who are literature enthusiasts, who earlier could not afford it, to those who can get their success stories or their creation reach masses. Through the power of gamification and probably through various technological integration, we can act as a technology can act as a catalyst, and probably a behavioral shift can happen. So the problem statement are many actually. There are not one or two, there are many. And one of the major ones is distribution, copyright violation issues, font standardization. People should be educated how to choose correct Unicode fonts, the fastest way to write creative content, ability to self-market, and leveraging all those things using technologies. So probably these are the things that needs a quantum shift when we are talking about literature and technology marriage, and is taking a country to the next level.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for bringing that transformative potential that literature has in a society, and the mechanics of actually going under the hoods of what technology, how it should be done, etc. So thank you for that. We'll talk about some of these things. So I want to focus a little bit on what Ranjit said. So Ranjit, you drew a parallel between how it's similar across industries. Right? Technology is transforming different industries, but is there are there literature specific? I mean, by literature also, I mean, let's say publishing also, literature specific things to technology.
Yes and no. So I think let me start with clarifying no first, and then I'll get to yes. So I think when you talk to people who have been part of a particular sector or industry for a long time, they always feel like their particular sector, their particular industry is somehow unique. And whatever has happened in every single other market, every single other sector industry is not going to happen to their own industry because of XYZ reasons. The same has been true for countries, religions, languages, and whatever. Everybody thinks that somehow their part is just unique. That's not how, in general, the world operates. So in general, if something is true across 15 different sectors, for example, of 15 different countries, chances are that it's true for the 16th one as well. And there are, of course, and which is the yes part, there are, of course, nuances to every single sector, just like there are nuances to every single language in every single country and every single society. And those nuances depend on a bunch of different things. So let me start with, for example, within literature, let's say, there would be differences between how a comic book is published on the internet versus how a traditional, let's say, storybook is published. For a comic book, typically you will need multiple people before it becomes a consumable comic. You will need somebody who is a story writer, then you will need somebody who is like a creative director or artist. You will need somebody who is a letterer. Sometimes one person can write a story and that could be very, very good. Of course, you might still require an editor, you might still require a cover image designer, but these are not necessarily always needed. Versus comics, for example, it's always needed. And that's just one nuance. There could be other nuances. So for example, let's say something like copyright violation may not be important, or at least as important for, let's say, banking, versus it would be very, very important for something like publishing. So building technological tools, and that's almost impossible to kind of solve for without technology. With technology, it's impossibly hard. Without technology, it's probably literally impossible. But solving for copyright violation is a problem that will exist for something like publishing, but will probably not be a very important problem for something like, let's say, medicine. So there are nuances around different parts where technology is more or less valuable for publishing. But by and large, I think the core premise is still the same across industries and across sectors.
Thanks for that nuance. Suresh, now I want to sort of ask something which Bibu mentioned. You're a VC, and these days a sector has arrived only if there is a tech behind it. There is fintech, there is edtech, and Bibu mentioned literature tech. So as a VC, what are the promising areas within that you see? Would you back it?
I think, I mean, you should ask that question to Ranjit, who went and raised lots of money. So nothing to, again, like Ranjit said, I think, I mean, literature is never going to be an area which is hot for the investors, right? You need to find some hidden gems like Ranjit's company, right? That's how the investment in this area works, right? It's not that, for example, just because I like Sanskrit poetry and I like meters in Sanskrit, right? I'm not going to go and fund this, right? In spite of all the love I have for the language. Right? So from the VC's perspective, right, this is still going to be a very complex area to put in money, especially because I think publishing and distribution is complete disarray, and it's going to be very, very expensive to digitize our, I mean, at least from the physical books perspective, to get a lot of things in order, right? So not going to be an easy call for any investor, right? While the passion will take you to some level, like the way I got into Just Books because of the passion, etc. While it can take you to some level, but to see some real hard money getting into this sector, I think I still can't think of one area, right? I'm talking more from the physical publishing. On the digital publishing side, I think there were always experiments around the content, right? We continue to do the experiments around the content, monetization, discovery, the content security, which Bibhu spoke, etc. There are always opportunities there, right? More from the digital background, right? But if you consider literature as a whole, I think still, for example, will a publisher, okay, just a publisher, will he be able to go and raise capital? Of course, we have Chand and Navneet guys, etc., who have raised a lot of money on the background of their academic publications. But on the literature, pure literature side, what is the chances? I don't see it happening right now. Okay. A. B, should the VCs put in money here? May not be, right? You have consumers, you have great consumers willing to pay, right? So we have some of the authors who have got reasonable circulation there, right? So maybe you two ways. One is VCs may not this industry, and what the hell, even we don't need VCs. That should be the attitude that with which we should get into this market.
It makes sense. I think in the literary world, I've been keeping track, and only J.K. Rowling is a billionaire. Well, we have a lot of unicorns instead of founders. The lit tech or literature billionaire is.
But the question is, I mean, VCs need to discover J.K. Rowling because before he wrote his first book, yeah. That won't happen here very easily, right? You need to have an ecosystem which can go pre-seed, right? Which is very difficult in the literary.
And also to add to Kashyap and Suresh's statement, when a content is created, actually the imagination, many people have imaginations, very easy to develop because that is so natural to human beings. But transformation of that imagination to action requires a handholding. In case of J.K. Rowling, we are talking about that. Even stories where there are some stories where it was handholded. So when literature we are talking about technology side, we are talking about majorly on the grammar sides. Majorly we focus on grammar side, spelling side. But when it comes to creative sides, that also requires a lot of handholding. Handholding at the same time backed by technology. For example, how to create a plot, how to create a climax, how to create a suspense tree, how to create a twist, how to create a storyboarding. All these can be weaved one after another by using technology. And like rightly said, when technology is mixed with any kind of domain, it is perceived as a no for many funders or many in the society as such. But when it starts revolving to the next orbit, probably yes, things start crystallize. Okay, this is the state. Probably because if I talk about in China, there are 3 companies which are in the literature tech domain, $1 billion setup. Even in Korea, there are multiple companies in the $500 million range. In same with the case of Canada and other parts of the world. But in India, despite variance, we are only handful of people, handful of companies which has gone to this the next level. But it is coming up. It is coming up. And literature has a beauty that one format you can create multiple components. Same story, ebooks, physical books, audio books, movies, translation services. You generate revenue after revenue. So here also interesting challenges needs to be looked at when we are looking at literature tech side of the.
While right now this segment may be small, but you see based on what's happening in other countries, it's going to be.
Kashyap, I just want to add a joined. Okay, so this one. See, for example, even movies don't get, right? I mean, let's differentiate between the tech and the content part, right? So even movies are not funded by VCs globally, right? So which is, if I can say that. The point here is, but there are a lot of companies around technology around movie which are funded, which have got great exits, right? So in fact, there are a few things that I am associated with them. Right? So similarly in literature, the companies that gets funded are the things that are horizontal platform, that can really address a large segment, because for a VC, market comes first and then the team, right? So market comes first and then the team, right? Or even though we say team is first, but the team which is not working on a great market will never get funded, right? So whereas the literature by definition needs to start from the innovator, right? It needs to start from a creativity perspective, right? Not just from the execution and other things, right? So are there horizontal opportunities in which VCs will start looking into, right? The probably, Ranjit is here again, I will come back at this one, right? The platforms will continue to be attractive because at the end of the day, you have all the transaction moving to internet, and then transactions are getting digital. And the only way you can drive people to transaction is through the content, and content is content can be literature. Okay, if I can use that, content can be this one. So there are opportunities. But when I say literature, okay, when I say publishing, okay, just a pure play publishing, that not the snackable content, right? The pure literature that in the classical word terms is always going to be tough. But as I said, probably that's not even the way they should look at. They should. I'm a firm believer that, right? I mean, if you are an author, you should conserve your literary freedom, and probably instead of trying to fit yourself into a market, you should be creative. I mean, you should just write the best stuff that you can put write about, and then hope that market will fix it up. Right? That should be that. That's where I was thinking.
Makes a lot of sense. So a quick note to the audience, please. I see that you're sending in questions, so please keep sending them questions, and we will pick them up and ask for the panelists. So we have a question from Mr. Paramanand about he wants to know the shopping list for Ranjit's 48 million. So Ranjit, and I also, if we can also talk about what is the tech landscape like in the Indic language, so-called Indic language space? What are the issues and challenges to be aware of and overcome? Two questions for you.
The first one is easier to answer. Essentially, there are three major parts where we are going to be investing. One part is just strengthening the team, primarily on the technology front. As many of you would have read over the last 6 months, engineers have become very expensive, especially good engineers. So I think that's one area, just strengthening the team in general. The second is that we have started acquiring a lot of stories that were published on Pratilipi and then helping convert these stories into other formats. So we have 4 formats on our own. So we have online comics now. We have started publishing physical comics and books. We have Pratilipi FM, which is the audiobooks platform. And then we are also converting some of our stories into web series, movies, hopefully in future into games and other parts as well. So that IP acquisition and development is the second area. And the third area is something that we'll start focusing on towards the beginning of next year, which is essentially expanding from India to other countries and other markets. So these are the key areas where we will be spending a majority of money that we have raised. Coming to your second question, Kashyap, that's a much harder question to answer because it depends on the use case. So Pratilipi primarily, if you look at it, is more of a consumer-facing product, right? So essentially, for us, the best technology that we build is basically when the user almost feels like it's magic. If the user has to feel like it's technology, then it's not really a consumer-facing technology. So technology should always stay at the back end. So for example, let's say we have built our own, and we actually open source some of technologies that we have built. So for example, we have built our own copyright detection algorithm. We have built our own pornography detection algorithms. We have built our own hate speech detection algorithms. And many of these we have open source so that other younger startups which may not have the same money to invest into machine learning engineers can basically utilize these. But again, from a user's perspective, the way you know that our copyright detection, for example, is working is if you very rarely see something that is copyright violation, or if you very rarely see something that is pornography. If you notice that something is there, then chances are that my technology is not working that well. On the other hand, there are companies where they are more, let's say, B2B. Think of, for example, Reverie. And I have huge respect for what they have done over a period of time. But they will build solutions which are helping other companies build platforms like Reverie. So input mechanisms is one of those. For example, how do you use a Hindi keyboard or Kannada keyboard? Or maybe voice typing could be another. Or maybe automatic translation could be another. So depending on the use case, I think there are many different areas where technology can play a big role as far as content/publishing is concerned.
Makes sense, yeah. So I want to turn to Bibhu now. Bibhu, So I see, I mean, when I check Story Mirror, you're doing a lot of interesting things in sort of generating this writing habit, making writing a habit sort of a thing. You seem to be using technology and marketing for that. So tell us about your initiatives there.
So what we have identified in this literature tech space, that when we are building a platform like Story Mirror, and which is focusing on 10 different languages and dealing with vernacular people who are not tech savvy yet, they are still adapting to that technology space. So we have identified that there are 4 things that need to be taken care of: how we can identify the talents, and how we can help them in building their contents, because it is not always that they can build their content effectively, even if they are able to imagine. And then third is the content distribution and monetization part. So in that process, what we have realized that writing challenges are a great way not only to bring new writers, but also engage the existing writers. Writers need to be given new themes, ideas to break their writing block. Because writers normally do have this kind of problems. So they cannot always create great contents. However, we realize that the approach can be created in a more robust way. So we have built India's probably biggest competition module, and we have created the initiatives such as Story Mirror School Writing Challenge, where students only participate, Women Write Now, women only centric, SI Write Now, SI Write, where almost corporate employees participate. In fact, our first season of SI Write, with the help of S-Bank, went on to win Gold Award at the B2B Content Campaign of the Year by IMI. When we launched, we thought probably how many will be participating in the writing challenge from corporates. But to our surprise, almost 5,000 corporate employees participated in the first season itself. Even our school writing challenge has seen students and teachers, almost 30,000 participants so far. In fact, we are running the 3rd season right now. Almost more than 1,200 schools have been onboarded by now in just one. To acquire the writers, and of course, there are various engaging modules that we have built through which we retain the writers, and of course, enhance their skill set. And we then just try to get monetized through the various formats, like through the digital publication, physical publication, of course, in various services that been opened for them. So in this process, we have taken them to from a level where they were like lone battle, they were learning the role lone battle, like throwing some content on some random platform, to making them monetize in that process. Because ultimately, any content creator's goal or any content company's goal is to uplift the community. Because it should not, because we have always seen that it is the platform which grows, but it doesn't grow the community as such. But so the objective of these writing challenges, etc., is to uplift the community. Once community uplifted, yes, there are a lot of things, there are a lot of problems that can be solved, and that is what we have seen, and it is going good.
That's very nice. The Literature Premier League has a very nice ring to it. So, Suresh, we have a question from the audience for you. They've heard about your personal library platform, so they want to know more about that. And I also have a question for you. I think like libraries are like the last mile of literature. And so here, how is tech enabling a good reader experience?
Right. So I will first let me start with the question that we had. So one of the thought, we always thought JustBooks is a platform and it's not the library, right? In fact, consciously we removed the word library from most of our communication for this one. So we look at it as a community and we look at it as a platform that can really help people come closer to literature. In fact, we always, our vision is the book should find its author. It should never be other way around, right? If there is a book always find the author who is worthy of reading it. That's the concept on which we are trying to reimagine a lot of stuff. I think few things that we are launched, right? Let me come back to the question. One of the stuff that we wanted to do is, if it is a platform, anyone should be able to come and own a library on JustBooks, right? So for example, if you say you want to curate the list of 1,000 books, right? So, and say that it's Kashyap's library, come to our platform, curate the book of 1,000 libraries and call kashyap.justbooks.in, and then you go ahead and market it, and we will provide you all the books, we'll provide you the logistics, we'll provide you the technology, payments, etc., etc. This is one of the idea that with which we started with, right? So we want all readers to own their own libraries is one of the concepts with which we started it. And then came the whole idea of P2P book exchange, or P2P, anyone have putting their books onto our library. So what we have built is a before anyone else platform, right? And in fact, that was the way we wanted to go outside Bangalore, across the country. So what we have built is a peer-to-peer book exchange platform wherein you can just come and list the books that you have onto our platform. Either you can keep the books yourself or hand it over to us. We'll just make sure that those books are kept well with all the right things that needs to be done. So, but fundamentally, you will come and list your books on your platform. And when people search for the books, whether it's the rarest of the books or any book that they want to read, right? And if it is available with some other reader, we'll make that match. We'll ensure the logistics and payment and other aspects are met with. So fundamentally, this is the platform in which you can go and list the books that you already have. Right? If you have 1,000 books at home, you can just come to me and say that these are the 1,000 books. I want these books. I want to allow people to read these books that I have, either on a rental basis or for free or buy it or whatever the model that you want to do. But it's just a library. Either you use our books to build your own library, or if you already have a library, come and list it in our library is the model that we are coming up with. I mean, just to, because continuing this, right, reimagining the experience, I said it's almost like ensuring that book finds its reader. That's what we are looking at, right? So, for example, we have built a e-business suite for authors, right, which is currently only by invite, wherein authors can use our platform to launch their own author reading sessions. They can do the workshop, they can create special content to reach out to the users, etc. So, a whole lot of opportunity for authors to come and monetize their content with this. On the consumers itself, right? So the whole aspect I said is there are 3 reasons why people still, in fact, when I did this JustBooks transaction, a lot of them asked me, right, including my good friends, as to why the hell you are doing this, right? So when the assumption was whole physical library culture, physical books is going down the drain, right? So there are not many people who want to read the physical books, which is evident by the fundraise that Ranjit has done and other stuff. But in fact, that was my idea too. When I did this transaction, I thought, let's go and build a whole lot of content around digital, etc., etc. But when I just looked into the number of JustBooks, I mean, looked into numbers, then or the global numbers, then I realized that trend is actually other way around, right? The physical books have come back in a big way. In fact, number of physical books published have again overtaken digital books for last 2 years, right? Which is the reversal of the trend. A. B, I mean, I'm sure all of us are parents. Excuse me if some of you are too young to become a father, but I'm sure none of you are, at least for this one. So as parents, we are a lot more comfortable when our kids pick up a physical book than use any of the digital medium, right? So there is a value for physical books as a parent, and most of the serious readers, right, except those who are traveling, those who can't carry the books, etc., would still prefer physical books. These are the trends because of which we thought we continue to put a lot of emphasis on the physical format of the books. But as soon as we did that, there are some very interesting things started happening, right? So the whole, we started looking into why people are coming back to a library, because one is a physical book. Second one, affordability is not an issue, right? So anyone can go and buy the book on Amazon, etc. People have enough money to buy the books that they want today, right? Why would they come to library, which is not like earlier times? But then we figured out people come to JustBooks for 3 reasons. First reason, it makes them disciplined, right? In fact, we purposefully go and ask all our customers who have left us to go and ask them, have you reading more after you left us, right? For whatever reason. The answer is clear no, right? Because they are with JustBooks, it brings discipline and they read a lot more. B, it helps them to discover new books, right? So discover or decide what they should read, right? Just come, check out and other stuff. And third one, many of them, I mean, are too good to us. They just want to be part of this community. They want this idea to survive, right? So we have a lot of customers who are there. Of course, they are terrific readers, but the main reason they will say is they just come to us and say that, right? I mean, they take care of our staff and other stuff. Right? They just want to be part of this network. These are the reasons why it just book still makes sense.
I think now your fun name of Co-Create makes a lot of sense.
So before you guys continue, just wanted to warn you, 5 minutes are left. So maybe take like the last one or so question, right?
Okay, thank you, Pusha. Thank you for the time check. Yeah. So I think this resonates with the audience as well, Suresh. They're saying it's an excellent concept, the whole libraries as a service, if you will. So one question that again has come from the audience is that technology cannot help it in the foreseeable future? It's a great question.
Should I take this question?
Please go ahead.
Okay, there are the buzzword these days is AI. AI is I have done extensive work in AI, so I understand that space, and then many startup guys, because they might not have seen those kind of data sets that we used to manage in the Credit Suisse, where billions of data sets were there, and we have burned several hundred millions in building AI system that finally fails. So something that cannot be done in the book writing, publishing, probably in this space, probably in next 10 years, is the translation. True translation cannot be done. Why? Reason number one, it might be sounding that those people who will disagree with me, either they do not know the technology or probably they are running technology. That is the two possibilities. Because the translation as a service is a very, it is a very creative subject. Creativity has a lot of dimension tentacles. So the computational power machines require, it will be at least 100x from the current state of computation. Means you need to have a supercomputer to create translation as a services.
Right. So translations are something that machines can't help.
Last 15 years they have not been successful.
Understood, point taken. So translations we can't do. What else can we do, Ranjit?
The other things that cannot we do is the creativity expansion of the mind. One is the imagination expansion. Imagination expansion is a step-by-step process. You cannot come all of a sudden you can make someone to crack IIT exams, because 2 years he reads extensive reading, he can crack IIT exams. But 2 years somebody reads something and you expect that the person will be completely molded to become Harry Potter or J.K. Rowling. It is little bit difficult. So it is a process probably that needs to be taken care of in the text.
Understood. So in the interest of time, and we'll go with those 2 points, I just want Ranjit and Suresh also to chime in. Where can't technology help?
I think from my perspective, I think Vibhu has said both points which are valid. I think in general, wherever there is either creativity involved, I think machines will take time before they become good enough. They will, but will it take 10 years, 20 years, or 500 years? Who knows? And the second is whenever like the sample size is so small that your model simply don't have enough data to learn from, are the kind of things that technology will take a lot of time before it gets good enough. So in general, I think anything where creativity is involved will take some time.
Suresh?
Right, I think Vibhu said this. In fact, if you actually look at the classic literature perspective, there are concepts of rasa and dhvani. Sorry to bore this one. Right? So I think it's very, very difficult to bring out the creativity and emotional aspects. Okay? I think, I mean, on a lighter note, I don't think technology can create more readers here. Right? So
technology that can create more readers means probably time is short. We cannot. We have done that. We have done that. We have already proven that.
You can retarget
readers.
I mean, you're
excellent. So we'll have to take that offline. We have 2 minutes, so I just want you to chime in 30 seconds each. So let's play futurist. So how will it look like 10 years or 20 years down the road? Will books be delivered to the readers directly through Elon Musk's brain neural interfaces, or what's the future going to look like, literature and tech in the next 10 years, 20 years?
Probably possible. Augmented reality is going to be a reality in next 5 years or so. Maybe less than that.
Augmented reality story.
And the thing, probably our dreams can be instantly converted to stories. We switch a button and it is
Translate the dreams then.
That's possibility. And also possibilities that you are reading a story, all of a sudden Amitabh Bachchan in front of you, he's narrating the story is in voice because you switch the button, and all of a sudden you switch, some other characters are there appearing. So from text to characterization and augmented reality is a possibility. Very is there already, technology is there. So maybe it will,
Gibu, that can be your next book. Ranjit.
I think newer formats will come, and it's impossible to say what those formats are. Maybe one of those formats is AR, maybe. But generally, older formats take a lot of time before they die. So if you think of, for example, let's say transportation as an industry, and think of it like a parallel to publishing, it took a lot of time before like horse carts went away, and they're still there in some of the places. Like in my hometown, for example, there's still horse carts. It's just that newer formats of transportation came in. There are cars, there are trains, there are aeroplanes, but it takes time before the older format kind of dies. So I think traditional books, for example, or traditional comics will still stay along. There will be newer formats. It's just that newer formats will typically grow faster and they will take a larger share of the market.
Awesome. 30 seconds, Suresh, please have the last word.
I hope each piece of content finds its readers, and irrespective of the ability of the owner to invest in marketing, right? This is my...
Awesome. It's been a fantastic panel. We could go on, but we're out of time. So thank you, everybody. Thank you for joining in. Thank you for your insights.
Kashyap. Thanks, Suresh. Thanks, Ranjit.